Hi there and welcome to Distilling in Australia. My name is Nick and this is video number 17, Queensland Liquor Licence Part 2. So I know that this is out of sequence. It's now, what are we to do, March of 2022, and we're actually up to video number 33, but this has been something that I was going to do a while back, and then I decided to put it off for a while until I was actually ready to go ahead with it. So as always, before we get started, here is 5 seconds of your life that you'll never get back. Okay, so here it is. This is my application for my Queensland liquor license. I have finally completed it. As you can see, it's quite a lengthy document, and I haven't sent it in just as yet. But what I wanted to do is just run through the application, and the second part of this video, I'm going to bring the application up on the computer, and I'm just going to run through it and let you know how I attacked the various questions in relation to the application. But what I'm going to do initially is just go through the parts that I found a little challenging, and I see this a lot. Okay, so on social media, in the distilling groups, I see this comment a lot about how do we get permission to operate your distillery in your home, because I'm a nano distiller, and if you've been watching the series, you know that my goal is to produce 100 bottles a week at maximum production. Now that equates to, I've allowed myself 40 LAL or litres of ethanol per week, which will give me 100 litres, which is obviously more like 125 bottles, but at 750 mils. But the point is that when, and I see this, and remember, there's like 573 LGAs out there. So, there's lots of interpretations. So I can only give you what my experience is in relation to dealing with the my local LGA, which is the city of Gold Coast, which is where I live. So as I've said in video number 32, I think it is, I had the great privilege of being able to ride on the shoulders of giants, which was a couple out at Gilston, and they went through the process of what's called an Express DA. And the Express DA was a procedure they went through with the local government council, the Gold Coast City Council, to enable them to have their own home distillery. So I'm not going to go into the details of what their application is. That's private to them, and that's unless they give me permission to do that, I won't. But they were looking at what I would call a moderate amount of production. So the initial response from council was pretty much, this is going to trigger, you're an industry and therefore you can't do this in your home. But they persevered, and they were able to demonstrate and manage the application in a way that they could explain to council that what they were doing was not going to have any impact on their neighbours. And that is the number one criteria when it comes to your application through council. Council's responsibility is to ensure that whatever you do in your home doesn't adversely affect the rights of your neighbours to quiet enjoyment, and that's fair enough. Okay, so that's their number one priority. So they're all for letting people, do what they want to do, so long as the impact is, well, zero. Okay, that's the bottom line. So that means you've got to have car parking available on your property to support, the vehicles. You've got limitations on staff, movement of vehicles, noise, pollution, whether it's air, odor, noise, emissions. It doesn't matter what the pollution is. It has to have zero impact on your neighbours. So what I was what this couple was able to demonstrate was that if you think of this from the perspective of the person sitting in council, you say to them, look, I want to open a distillery in my garage. Now their first reaction is going to be forklifts, heavy machinery, bottling machinery, all this noisy, lots of movement and all this sort of stuff. So their initial reaction is, oh my God, this is industry and this is going to be noisy and it's going to impact the neighbours. So as the applicant, it's beholden on you, or me, as it was in my case, to demonstrate to them that what we do is silent. And it all comes down to a matter of volume, okay? So for argument's sake, as I've said in all my videos, 40 litres LAL a week, that's it for me in this particular location where I am, which is operating out of my garage. So for them, it was more, okay? So they had to go through the Express DA. But going through the Express DA, they were able to manage to demonstrate that even though they were going for a moderate amount of production, they were able to demonstrate that the production level would have zero impact on their neighbours and also zero impact on the infrastructure of the neighbourhood. So in other words, you're not going to unduly draw excess power from the grid. You're not going to put extra strain on sewage or water supplies. So you have to be able to demonstrate that what you are doing would form within the normal operation of a domestic dwelling. And as soon as you look as though you're going to start stepping outside that, then you're going to have problems. So for those of you who hit a brick wall, remember these people in council are human beings. So it's a matter of finding someone who you can talk to and who you can explain the process. And again, everyone's different, but in my particular case, I had electric driven elements, so no noise there. I had only produced CO2, so CO2 is an odorless gas. The volumes at 40 litres a week is so low that there's going to be no commercial deliveries. I mean, everything that I do I can pick up from Woolies in my car. So there's really very little impact on movement. The distillery is closed to the public, and I think that's very important. Like the idea of having people coming in and doing taste tests and distillery tours and all that sort of stuff is a bit frightening for council. So you have to sort of address those issues when it comes to the approval. So all in all, what I found, and I know I'm waffling and I'm sorry, but all in all what I found is that it's a discussion of volume. So as long as you can demonstrate that the volume that you are going to produce is so small that it's absolutely going to have no impact on anyone or any infrastructure, then it gives council a little bit of leeway, a little bit of discretion, I suppose you'd call it, for them to be able to say, yeah, this is actually not industry. Okay, yes, they are manufacturing a small amount of alcohol, but doesn't qualify as industry because the process has zero impact. So that's what I wanted to address in relation to that, and it's important because obviously in the license, and it's on the first page under minimum requirements, it says evidence that your intended use of the site as licensed premises is permitted under the relevant town plan. Okay, so that's a biggie, and that's what most people struggle with to start off with. So if you live in the city of Gold Coast and you want to open a distillery in your garage, my advice to you is to keep your volume to 40 LAL, and that then enables you to demonstrate that your impact on your neighbours is zero. And make sure it is zero, because if it's not zero, they will come and close you down. All right, and you go to all this effort for nothing. Okay, so your number one priority is to make sure that you don't impact the other neighbours. So a couple of other things that I will go through. When it says a ramp on page 1, risk assessment management plan, because you're such a low, well, because I was such a low risk enterprise, in other words, I'm not open to the public, I will do my sales online and at promotional events, and I'll get to promotional events in a minute. And then the impact of the impact to my neighbourhood is zero. So again, look, this application, I haven't submitted it yet, so whether it's accepted or not, I don't know at this stage. So that'll be liquor license part 3. We'll see how we go with that. The other thing is a community impact statement. Now, again, I've requested exemption for that as well, because of course my distillery is closed to the public, so there is no community impact at all from the premises. So the questions are, most of the other questions are fairly straightforward. Obviously we're going for an artisan producer's license, and then most of the questions I've answered no to, or not applicable. And it's just a matter of flicking through and answering the questions as obviously as you can. Artisan producer's license extract part G is quite straightforward. Now what I did is I've also done an overview or explanatory notes just to explain what's going to happen with the distillery. So hopefully that's going to be enough to say to them, okay, well, this guy is just wanting the license to be able to sell online and to go to promotional events. And also I've requested a waiver for the OLGR to advertise, because I don't want I don't want a board out the front of my house advertising that I'm advertising for a liquor license. I don't want to draw attention to my house. I don't want people coming to my front door and wanting to buy my product. That will then lead potentially to me contravening my right to operate as home occupation in this particular location. So it's very important to me that, to all intents and purposes, this appears and operates like a normal domestic dwelling. I just so happen to produce a bit of alcohol which I sell online, which is not going to affect anyone in my neighbourhood. So they're the sort of things that you need to be aware of. Now, promotional events, I'll go back, as you would have seen, or some of you would have seen in the shorts, I went and did my responsible management of a licensed venue, so RMLV. So I went and did that, and I got that. Now that took a day, and I did that at the Queensland Hotel Association in Brisbane. It took a day, and I'm sorry, I'm looking for it in here. And I have to say that the girls there were extremely good. I found the course actually very interesting. A lot of it didn't apply to me, and they acknowledged that most of it doesn't apply to me because of the way I was going to be set up. But what I did learn is I learned, and I had assumed this was going to be okay, but I wasn't 100% certain. But what I did learn from them as people involved and talk to the OLGR all the time, is that a promotional event can incorporate things like markets or music festivals or any of those sorts of things. Now, if you want to sell at a promotional event, then you still have to get a permit, and the permit costs around about $74. So the artisan license will give you, as long as you tick the box, the ability to do that. But for every event that you want to go to, you still have to get a permit to operate at that particular event. So that's another $74 that you're going to have to spend, or thereabouts. You're going to have to spend to do that. But to me, because that's sort of going to be one of my outlets, that's something that I'm going to do. How successful it is or not, I don't know. I mean, this is baby steps, baby steps, baby steps. So that's sort of a bit of an overview. Now, for those of you who are interested, actually, no, I'm not going to. Sorry, I've changed my mind. I'm not going to post this and scroll through every question, because really the most difficult part I found was making sure that I had an acknowledgement from council that I could operate, which I did. I've got some emails back from the council about that. I've done my application for home occupation as part of this application, because what happens with this application is that when the liquor license people get this, they will then actually go to the local council and they will say, we've had this application, is this okay with you? All right, so they will actually double check that what you're planning to do in this application is conducive to council requirements. So don't try and pull the wool over OLRG's eyes, because you'll get caught out. All right, so that was probably the most difficult thing. Depending on what your history, they go right through criminal history. They want to know every single company that you've been a director of in the past. That's under Form 5, your personal details. If you've ever been a bankrupt, for argument's sake, that's one of the questions in here. So, yeah, I don't know what the response to that is, but I know that under the Act, you can't be an undischarged bankrupt to get your liquor license. So if you're an undischarged bankrupt, you won't get your liquor license, and I'm not sure about if you're a discharged one or not. I have no idea. I don't know about that. That's something that you'll need to find out if you put your application through. So that's really all I wanted to talk about. Form 5 is quite onerous in terms of they want to know everything about you. So be prepared to answer a lot of very personal questions, and it just forms part of your application, because I want to make sure that you're a responsible person who they can trust. Now, in relation to the distilling license, the manufacturer's license, to me, that was relatively easy in comparison to this one. And remember, I'm doing this without any legal advice. I haven't employed any solicitors or town planners or anything like that. All of this I'm doing on my own, through my own investigation, my own efforts. So it'll be interesting to see how we go with this application. I'll be signing this off next week. I've got to get some stat decks done and some other things done to say that they're true and correct copies of the originals. So you have to have all that sort of stuff done. But really, the investigation took quite some time. Getting all the information together took quite some time, but the actual application I completed probably in about 4 or 5 hours. So yeah, it took me about 4 or 5 hours to do it. As long as you keep it small, you don't need to do a ramp. I don't think you need to do a community impact statement, as long as you're not having an impact on any neighbours. And to me, that means you're just closed. So yeah, if you want to open a commercial distillery, well then go and find a commercial space that is zoned to do what you want to do. So this is not about hitting your head against a brick wall. It's about finding the gate and making sure you've got the keys to get through the gate. In other words, you comply with what they want. Okay, it's not about them bending to your wishes. It's about you bending to theirs. And if you do that, I think as long as you've got someone reasonable to talk to at the other end, you should be pretty right. But again, everyone's got different experiences, and by all means comment down below and let me know how you've gone or what problems you've had. I can't promise you I can help you or answer any of those questions, but I'd just be interested to see, and you can discuss it amongst yourselves also in the comments about what experiences and difficulties you've had. There might be some councils that are easier to get along with than others. That's just human nature, because at the end of the day, government's not a machine. Government is just a whole lot of people doing what they're supposed to do, and in most cases it's ticking boxes. So as long as the boxes are ticked, that's all they need to make sure of, because then they've followed process and their asses are covered. Sorry, but that's just the honest truth. Anyway, that's all I want to do on this one. This is going to be lodged next week, and we'll see what happens. Now, I think they've got 30 days to respond to it initially. No doubt they're going to ask for more information and clarification on various bits and pieces. I don't know what that is going to be yet, but we'll see what happens, and wish me luck. And for now, that's it. Have a good week. Stay safe. Ciao for now. Distilling alcohol is illegal in Australia unless you hold the appropriate licenses and permits. I am not a lawyer, and the contents of this video are not intended to be legal advice. Do not rely on any information contained in this video, and seek your own legal professional advice before making any decisions. Be aware, the Australian Tax Office and the local law enforcement agencies will be taking interest in this channel due to its content. Please keep this in mind before posting any comments. Any comments posted are the opinion of the person posting and not of this channel. Let's get started.